Hello and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today in this video, we will be talking about The Wasteland by T.S. Eliot, a seminal work in the modernist poetry, known for its complexity and allusions to a wide range of cultural, historical and literary references. The poem is a long work of 434 lines, divided into 5 sections named The Burial of the Dead, A Game of Chess, The Fire Sermon, Death by Water, and What the Thunder Said. The poem was first published in the magazine called Criterion in October 1922 in the United Kingdom, and then in the November issue of the Dial in the United States. Before publishing the poem, Eliot sent a rough draft to Ezra Pound, who suggested some modifications. For example, Pound advised removing a quotation from Conrad's The Heart of Darkness, which was originally intended as an epigraph, and also recommended against using gerontion as a prelude to the poem. With these modifications, the poem was reduced to half its original length. During the composition of the poem, Eliot had been reading J.C. L. Weston's book From Ritual to Romance and was considerably influenced by it. He read about the wasteland of the Fisher King, whose kingdom had been laid waste because of his sins. This suggested the title of the poem to Eliot. For him, the whole of Europe was a spiritual wasteland. One another book that he used as a reference was The Golden Bough by Sir James Frazer. The epigraph of the poem comes from the Satiricon by Petronius. It tells the story of the Sibyl of Cumae. The Sibyls were the women of prophetic power, and among them, Cumae was the most famous. She was the beloved of Apollo, who granted her the gift of immortality but without eternal youth. As a result, she grew old over time and longed for death. The English translation of the epigraph means, "Once I saw with my own eyes the Sibyl at Cumae hanging in a cage, and when the boys said to her, 'Sibyl, what do you want?' she answered, 'I want to die.'" Thus the epigraph suggests the theme of the poem. Life in the modern wasteland is living death or a life in death. April is the cruelest month for the wastelanders because it brings about fusion and regeneration, which they don't like. As lilacs bloom from the dead land and spring rain awakens life, they are reminded of their memories of what they have lost and their desire for spiritual regeneration. However, the Wastelanders, who are spiritually dead, resist regeneration because it requires action and effort. They prefer to remain in the forgetful snow, avoiding the pain of awakening. For them, April's promise of renewal is a harsh reminder of their own spiritual emptiness. Winter kept the Wastelanders like Mary warm and comfortable because it allowed them to avoid action and forget their need for spiritual renewal. They would head south in search of pleasure, staying warm during the cold months. However, summer surprised them with unexpected rain, a symbol of spiritual regeneration, which they did not welcome. Instead of embracing the rain, they sought shelter from it. When the rain stopped, they returned to Hopgarten, a pleasure park in Germany, to enjoy the sunshine and avoid confronting the need of renewal. This is a German language, and the lines are borrowed from the autobiography My Past by German Countess Mary Larenzsch. The translation reads, "I am not Russian at all. I come from Lithuania. I am a real German." This statement is made by Mary, a member of Lithuanian royal family, emphasizing her true German heritage amidst the complex identity politics of her time. Mary tells Tiresias, a narrator of the poem, about her fun times with her cousin, an archduke. They once went on a sledge ride that was exciting, even though Mary was scared. She loves traveling to places like the mountains and the south, where she feels free. She is a globetrotter. Mary, with her lack of strong ties to family or community, represents the modern feeling of being rootless and disconnected. Tiresias reflects on the desolate modern world. The wasteland he describes is barren and spiritually empty, with no trees or fertile soil, just stones and broken idols representing false values. The land is scorched by the sun, and the nothing offers relief or comfort. The dead trees provide no shelter, and there is no life-giving water. The red rock symbolizes the Christian church, offering hope and protection. Tiresias urges people to seek salvation through Christ. This protection contrasts with the shadow of death, which is behind them in the morning and rises to meet in the evening, reminding them of their own mortality and fear of death. The lines are from the German opera Tristan and Isolde by Richard Wagner. It highlights the themes of love and despair. The translation of the lines goes like this: "The wind blows fresh from the homeland, my Irish child. Where are you lingering?" The Hyacinth Girl episode further illustrates this despair. A young woman once loved passionately is now forgotten by her lover, and she finds herself overwhelmed by desolation and emptiness, unable to perceive anything but bleakness. The translation of the second extract of the opera is "Empty and desolate the sea." In the opera, the love between the two characters, Tristan and Isolde, is intense but ultimately doomed and unfulfilled. Similarly, the encounter with the Hyacinth Girl reflects a moment of love or connection that is also left incomplete, as her lover ultimately forgets her. This moment in the poem highlights a broader theme of unfulfilled desires and the struggle to find meaning or satisfaction in life. The character of Madame Sosostris, a fortune teller, is likely inspired by the fake fortune teller in Aldous Huxley's novel Chrome Yellow. The function of tarot card has also degenerated. Earlier, it was used in ancient Egypt to predict the Nile's rise and fertility. Now it has turned into tools for misleading predictions and illicit activities. Sosostris shows her clients various cards. One depicts a brown Phoenician sailor with eyes turned to pearls by water's regenerative power, which is no longer possible in the modern world. Another card features Belladonna, a manipulative figure associated with intrigue, while a third shows a man with 3 staves, is likely a fisher king, and a fourth card with a will, symbolizing life's uncertainties. A card with a one-eyed merchant, Mr. Eugenides, represents a path of deception. A blank card, which the fortune teller fails to interpret, symbolizes spiritual ignorance and the mystery of religious truth she cannot grasp. She does not see the card of hanged man, which is Christ, because she is blind to spiritual truths. She advises the client to fear death by water and requests that if Mrs. Equiton appears, the client should tell her that she will bring the horoscope herself. The poet observes an unreal city, representing any modern Western city, covered in the brown fog of winter morning. From a distance, he sees a crowd on London Bridge, all spiritually desolate and burdened, walking with downcast eyes fixed on their feet. People walk slowly up and down King William Street, passing by the banks and offices where they work in dull, repetitive jobs. The Church of St. Mary, with its clock striking 9, marks the beginning of their dull routine, adding to their misery. The narrator recognizes someone in the crowd and calls out to him by naming him Stetson. They had served together at the naval battle of Melee. Last year, Stetson planted crops in his garden, which symbolizes spiritual deadness. The poet asks if the crops have started to sprout and if they will flower this year. He advises Stetson to keep away the dog, which symbolizes human consciousness, that reminds the need for spiritual renewal. The spiritually dead modern man prefers to keep such reminders at a distance. The passage ends with the poet calling Stetson a hypocrite and stating, "You are like me, you are my brother," emphasizing that everyone is spiritually empty in the modern Westland.